Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates will be the best main event of the year. Everything is dead even. The numbers, the tape, even when these guys fought last was November 15th. This will be the best main event of the year. Let's go break it down.
Yeah, we call it clean. Welcome to round 3, know what I mean?
We're getting right into JDM, okay? So I want to talk about Jack Della Maddalena's striking. He's a switch stance striker. He lands about 5.5 significant strikes a minute. And when you watch Jack fight, he's extremely fluent. He's one of the best boxers in the UFC, let alone MMA. Very, very good jab out of both stances. Very strong leg kicks, good body kicks. He attacks all levels of the body, very, very well. Jack, he has great head movement as well. That's the one thing I do like about him. He ducks punches extremely well. He has good eyes. He sees punches coming his way, and he's able to duck under them a lot better than most fighters in the UFC. He carries his hands and his shoulders like a true boxer. You know what I mean? He's kind of upright like this, looking like a true boxer throughout the entire fight. He doesn't really have an MMA stance. He has a boxing stance. Now, I mean, there's nothing you can take away from Jack when it comes to his striking offensively. And like I've mentioned a couple times talking about Jack Della Maddalena, he's a true switch fighter, which you don't see very often. He can throw everything out of both stances. Most fighters are usually just doing a lot of window dressing, right, with the stance switching, where JDM is actually effective out of both stances. The thing I don't like about Jack, though, is his defense. You look at his defensive rate when it comes to striking, and he's absorbing 3.84 significant strikes a minute. And like I said, he has great head movement, but a lot of the times it can be a little bit predictable. He likes to kind of throw a jab and duck off to a side, right? That's something I feel like can get timed, and that's something I feel like he needs to be careful with in this fight, is how he ducks his head. He's very reckless with where he puts his head at in striking exchanges because he trusts his hands so much. I feel like he kind of forgets about protecting his face. You know, almost getting hit with 4 significant strikes a minute, and your last 3 opponents were essentially all grapplers. I mean, that's not a good look. And Islam Makhachev, Bilal Muhammad, and Gilbert Burns, I mean, these guys were all finding the mark on you. I mean, specifically Bilal and Gilbert Burns, I mean, they were finding shots that I feel like if Carlos Prates finds, he could be in a lot of trouble this week. So I would like to see JDM get his hands up and be a little bit more defensively responsible when protecting his head in this fight. So let's go over and talk a little bit about Jack's grappling. There's not much to speak about offensively. He has a takedown average of 0.13 takedowns per 15 minutes. So this guy, he likes to stay on the feet, right? He's an okay anti-wrestler. He has a defensive rate of 64% in the grappling realm. So he's good at keeping the fight in his world. So that's really where it starts and stops for Jack. You're not going to see him grappling much. He's okay in the clinch. Like I said, he's okay at getting himself out of dangerous grappling situations. But offensively speaking, he's not looking to implement any type of grappling. He's trying to throw his hands. So on to his cardio. Jack, he has really good cardio. He's gone the distance, 5-round full distance, numerous times in the UFC. Actually, twice in his last 2 fights against Islam and against Bilal. They went all 5 rounds. So he has the cardio to go, and he carries power late, he carries pop late. My only concern in this fight is how is he going to do against a striker who's at a similar caliber and who has the size advantage? Because I don't know if he's fought a striker who is going to have the size advantage the way that Carlos Prates does. So let's talk a little bit about Carlos Prates. Okay, Carlos Prates is a very, very dangerous striker. I mean, all of his finishes in the UFC have come by knockout. I want to say he has 6 knockouts in the UFC. And you see he lands 3.77 significant strikes a minute. But he is absorbing almost 5 significant strikes a minute at 4.5. And that's one thing I don't really like about Carlos Prates. But the thing I do like about it, though, is he has a good chin, right? So we're going to switch it up and just talk about his defense first, and then we'll switch into his offense. So defensively speaking, he carries his hands kind of low. He has a swagger kind of striking style, right? He likes to kind of be like the cool guy out there throwing his hands, and it works out for him a lot of the times. But he is there to be hit. I mean, you go back to that Ian Gary fight, he was getting caught on plenty of occasions. 126 of them, to be exact, okay? Ian Gary landed 126 significant strikes against Prates. Didn't like that. But what I do like is the power that he carries offensively, right? Like I said, he's landing near and 4 significant strikes a minute. And he doesn't really need to land a lot to be effective. I mean, you go back and ask Leon Edwards. I mean, he put him down in the second round, right? Ask Jeff Neal. He put him down with a second to go in the first round with a spinning back elbow. This guy is an extremely dynamic striker. He has a variety of strikes. And the thing is that I like about him as well is he throws very, very good knees from all angles, right? And that's something in this matchup that I think we're going to have to pay attention to is the knees that he likes to throw up the middle. Has a piston of a left hand. I mean, he throws it. It's almost like I said, it's kind of like a cobra strike, the way he throws that left hand sometimes. It comes out so quick and out of nowhere. It's wild to watch. We talk about Prates' grappling here. Not much to talk about. Not much to talk about either, right? 0.21 takedown averages per 15 minutes. But he's at a 80% takedown defense rate. And I will pop up actually some of these highlights from the Ian Gary fight because just while I'm talking about it here, just take a look. I mean, it's beautiful to watch. This guy, he has such a slick way of defending the single leg and the way he shifts his opponent's weight to kind of, as you see here, just kind of flop Ian Gary onto his head. And then in the 5th round, this last clip that I'll show you before we move on here is a defensive, it's a reversal that he landed in. This is the 5th round, so he's tired, he's huffing and puffing, and he still, has the wits about him to pull off this reversal and this scramble. And that just shows, I mean, he's a striker, you know what I mean, by trade, but he's not, he's no fool when it comes to grappling whatsoever. So let's talk a little bit about his cardio. Carlos Prates, let's just take a peek really quick, because I'm not too sure how many 5-round fights he has. I know he has the one with Ian Gary, at least. He has one 5-round fight in the UFC, and he carries his power late. As we saw in that fight, he almost finished Ian Gary. Later on, after that reversal, he landed some nasty ground and pound and had Ian Gary on all fours crawling around just looking for legs out of desperation. So this is a guy who is dangerous the full duration of the fight. So now let's match these two guys up, okay? You got JDM, very, very slick striker, very good with his hands, very good with his movement, and honestly who's going to have the technical boxing edge. And then on the other side, you got Carlos Prates, who has just a little bit more a stalking style, right? And he's going to have that power edge, and I feel like he's just going to have the cage presence as well. Ultimately, in this matchup, I'm going with Carlos Prates. This is going to be a very close fight. This was hard for me to pick. Very, very hard for me to pick. Yes, I know JDM's at home, but I like Carlos Prates coming off of 2 straight knockouts at the end of 2025. I feel he learned a lot from that Ian Gary fight, going the full 5 rounds. I feel like he understands that you can't let people get out ahead and try to play catch up. I don't think you're going to see that in this fight. I think you're going to see Carlos Prates with a bit more urgency that he had in that Ian Gary fight. And we're going to see what JDM has. JDM's going to come out here. He's going to be doing his thing. He's going to be switching his stances, right? He only landed 18 significant strikes in his last fight, right? So he's going to be extremely hungry to come out here and do what he does best, which is throw his hands. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough against someone like Carlos Prates with everything that he possesses. So ultimately, I am going with Carlos Prates by split decision in the main event this Saturday at UFC Perth. All right, let's get into this co-main event now. Quillan Salkhild versus Beneil Dariush. Now, I know what everyone's saying here, right? Salkhild's just going to walk through him. Benny's done. You got Salkhild sitting here at 6 foot with a 75-inch reach, landing just over 5 significant strikes a minute with a takedown average. And now, mind you, he only has 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, but it's still impressive. 8 takedowns per 15 minutes is what his average is, and a takedown defense rate of 90%. So this guy is starting off his UFC career very, very dominant, and he's coming off a neck crank submission victory over Jamie Mullarkey in his last fight. And this is a fight where I feel a lot of people are forgetting how good Benny Dariush really is. So we're going to jump to the other side here really quick to Benny. And you talk about someone like Beneil Dariush, and people want to point at his most recent run, right? And more specifically, his most recent fight, right? Which he got knocked out 16 seconds into the first round against BSD. He just got caught, right? But you go back to the fight before that, where everyone was also counting him out, and that was against Renato Moicano. And this is a fight where he almost doubled him up on significant strikes, had 56 significant strikes to 31, and had 5 takedowns. All right. So, and that was against Moicano, who's a known grappler. Okay. So this is a little bit taller of a task, literally. He's going to be outgunned on the feet. He's going to be outsized. And, I don't know if I don't see a lot of paths to victory for Benny, but what I will say is I think he may be due for a y'all forgot kind of performance here. This is one where they're putting Salkild in the co-main event against a gentleman in Benny Dariush who was in the top 5 for a very, very long time and who was very close to fighting for a UFC championship. So we're going to see if Salkild's the real deal here this weekend, and I don't think it's going to be a 2 or 3 punch KO. So I feel if this fight goes beyond the first round, it's going to look a lot closer than these odds suggest. I think they got Salkild as one of the biggest favorites on the card, and it's deserved. It's definitely deserved, but I don't know. I think Benny can spoil the party. Ultimately, I am going to stop tap dancing around this for you. I'm going with Salkild as my pick, but I don't think the odds should be quite this wide. I think there should be a little bit more respect on what Benny's done and just the experience that he has. He's not going to be nervous or rattled. He's going to come in here and he's going to try to give him a veteran tour of the octagon. So we're going to see how this one plays out, but I'm often going to take Salkild by decision. I don't think Benny's going to get finished this weekend. A lot of people are saying round 1 KO. I don't see it that way. I think Benny's going to have a good showing of himself. He hasn't fought. It's funny, yeah, he fought in November of last year too. So a lot of these guys who fought on that November card are fighting on this card as well. But this is a fight where he's going to be hungry. He got caught, he got put down, he didn't get battered and beat up, right? So he's going to come in fresh, and he's going to come in motivated. So we're going to see which version of Benny shows up, but I ultimately think it's just not going to be enough against someone who's got the size, the age, and just the power advantage. So ultimately, Quillan Salkild by decision in the co-main event at UFC Perth. All right. Been a couple weeks since I kind of ran through and did my quick picks for you. Did a little lazy version of it last week. Let's dive right into these quick picks. All right, we're going to start right down here at the bottom of the prelims. Dom Marfan versus Cody Steele in the first fight of the night. I'm going with Cody Steele. Jonathan Mikhailov over Themba Gorimbo. I'm going Jonathan Mikhailov. Ben Johnston versus Wes Schultz. I'm going Ben Johnston. Colby Thicknees or Thickness, whatever you like, versus Vince Morales. I am going Vince Morales. Jacob Malkoon versus GM3 Gerald Mershart. I'm going Jacob Malkoon, and you should too, because Jacob Malkoon is the biggest favorite on the card. Moving on up, Junior Tafa versus Kevin Christian. I'm going with Kevin Christian. There's a good chance that Junior Tafa wins this fight, but I cannot bring myself to ever pick a Tafa brother. Kevin Christian is my pick in that fight. Cam Rouston versus Robert Bryshek. I'm going with Cam Rouston. Bryshek's not a bad underdog in this on this card, though. But ultimately, I am going Cam Rouston in that matchup. On to the main card. Opening it up. Tai Tuivasa versus Louis Sutherland. Guys, we are going to get a shoey this weekend for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. Tai Tuivasa is going to snap his 5 or 6 fight winning streak this weekend. Tai Tuivasa is the pick. Next fight, Shamil Gaziev versus Brando Perisic. This should be a decent fight while it lasts. I'm going to go Brando Perisic, but it should be close. Marwan Rahiki versus Ali Schmid. I'm going Marhan Rahiki in this one. Super dynamic striker. Don't miss that fight. Tim Elliott versus Steve Erceg. I'm flipping. I don't usually like to do this, but I'm going with Tim Elliott. Give me Tim Elliott in this matchup. I was on Steve Erceg all week, but I'm changing my mind right now on the spot. My official pick in the feature bout UFC Perth is going to be Tim Elliott. Beneil Dariush versus Quillan Salkild. As you guys know, we just talked about it. I'm going with Salkild. I think he's just going to be a little bit too much for Benny at this stage in his career. Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. The top of the bill in the main event. I am going with Carlos Prates. And those are the quick picks. Now, to tack on to those quick picks, I'm going to give you round 3's underdog lock of the week, which is Vince Morales over Kobe Thickness. I know you see the records here. Kobe Thickness 8-1. Vince Morales 16-10. Look, Kobe Thickness, he's a decent grappler. He's got slick in and out movement, but he's got fly swatters for hands. Okay, Vince Morales is going to have much more intent with his shots and just more. I think a better pace. Honestly, Kobe Thickness has good cardio, but he does tend to taper off as fight goes on. Vince Morales he was a slight underdog. It may be a pick him now, but when I saw it, he was a plus 108. So Vince Morales for round 3's underdog lock of the week. Now, we are going to finish this up, switching up the flow a little bit with 3 most confident picks. Like I said, we go back between 3 and 4 off what I'm feeling. I'm feeling 3 this week, okay? So, first most confident pick this Saturday at UFC Perth is Jonathan Mikhailov over Themba Gorimbo. I don't think Themba Gorimbo is UFC level. And I think this experiment is about done. I mean, then you go from being this highly touted prospect like he was, I don't know how highly touted, to, the Rock by a new house, and he was just kind of this public figure for the UFC. I feel like it was a PR move for the most part, if I'm being real about it. So, not going to ramble on too much about that one. Give me Jonathan Mikhailov for the first most confident pick. My second most confident pick is going to be Jacob Malkoun over GM3. I think this is going to be a first-round knockout. Jacob Malkoun's the biggest betting favorite on the card, and I think it's for a very good reason. So, second most confident pick is Jacob Malkoun over GM3. And like I always promise you, right, I give you one of my most confident picks on the main card. So my last most confident pick this week is Marwan Rahiki over Ali Shamid. I think this is also going to be a first or second round knockout. Marwan Rahiki is an extremely dynamic striker and is extremely durable. I don't think Shamid has much for him. I think he's coming in here as just a sacrificial lamb. Hate to say it. So give me Marwan Rahiki for my third and final most confident pick. And those are round 3's most confident picks this Saturday at UFC Perth. That's it, guys. Short and sweet. Thanks for hanging out with me. As you saw, a little had to get a new sign. Just a little bit of some technical difficulties with the sign there on the wall. So switching things up a little bit just for this week. Hope you liked kind of the condensed version of this. I've just been so excited about this main event all year long. I haven't been more excited for a main event since, and I don't think I don't see anything looking forward later on in the year that I'm more excited for moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, these guys are going to get in there and they're going to throw hands talking about Jack Della Maddalena and Carlos Prates. These guys are going to throw down and give you an amazing main event. 2 extremely dynamic strikers, 2 guys who are very durable, and 2 guys who are not for a second going to look for a takedown. All right, so do not miss it. Remember, it's early. They're over in Australia, so over on our side, it's very early. I want to say that the prelims start at 4 in the morning, and the main card starts at 7 a.m. All right, so you get to watch UFC fights with bacon and eggs this Saturday, okay? That's all I got. We'll see you next time in round 3.